I have never been good at Halloween. In fact, I've never been anything on Halloween. I've never celebrated, I've never dressed up for it, I've never watched a horror movie in spirit. But I figured that given the fact that we have not uploaded anything in a very long time, sorry about that, and our podcast even needed spicing up, I thought we'd do a Halloween episode. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Foreign Test Science podcast. My name is Arisha. It is currently October 3rd, so I'm 4 days late to the party, but let's get it going. Hi, how's everyone doing? Today I wanted to talk about a lot of things, but firstly I wanted to talk about Ride the Cyclone, which is what I am dressed up right now. Hello, I'm dressed up as Jane Doe from my favorite musical, second favorite, Ride the Cyclone, and it's really good. And it is technically a horror musical. It's about children brutally dying in a roller coaster accident, and the character that I'm supposed to be is the girl who gets her head brutally, like she gets decapitated, and then she changes her head into a doll's head, and she carries this doll around. I don't have a doll, but I do have a bunny, so he's gonna stay with me. Okay, and the reason why I want to talk about it is because I feel like, our podcast has always been very like chatty and informal, and me and Afra, we always talk about stuff that we like and stuff that's going on in our personal lives. So while I was thinking of what to do this episode about, I was trying to figure out what was going on in my personal life, and nothing nothing is going on in my personal life. I'm very I'm doing very normal, actually. I'm under a lot of pressure for exams. I have 5 months till board exams, which is it's not enough. It will never be enough, and I'm very scared. It sucks because like everyone is telling me that O levels is easy, and it is easy. It's not difficult. It's nothing that you can't understand. It's just there is so much. Like, I don't know where they decided to make the syllabus so big, but it's huge and I hate it. But today we're not going to be talking about like studies and stuff. I know you guys didn't come here for that. Come on. The main things that I want to talk about in this episode, other than, some Halloween tidbits, is about us and about the self. In Ride the Cyclone, when Jane Doe is decapitated, she loses all memory of her life. And not only does she lose memory of her life, when she goes into the afterlife and sees all of her friends, no one knows who she is. She's a completely nameless, faceless entity who has no, concept of self. Not only does she not realize who she is, no one else does either. I think it's very tragic. In fact, in the song that she has, the Ballad of Jane Doe, she says, "Oh St. Peter, let me in. You must know where I've been. Won't you tell me at last who I am?" And I've been thinking about that. I think about it a lot because I listen to the song on a daily basis. But I feel like when you focus on yourself, as in not in a self-care euphoria way, when you focus on yourself as in you do a lot of stuff that is primarily centered around meeting your own goals, like I've been studying like crazy and practicing debate like crazy in order to, do good in our upcoming tournaments, but also to study in order to pass board exams properly. You start to really spend a lot of time with yourself. And I feel like that's what's been happening for the past few months. Almost every waking hour is me being with me, which I know is going to sounds arbitrary because of course you spend time with yourself, you are you. But in this case, I just feel like I've been spending so much time with myself and it's driving me crazy. Because of course I still go to social gatherings, I still have a family, and I have friends, whatever they're called. I have a friend's picture right here, by the way. I put Afra up in the setup so she would be with us in spirit. Okay, whatever. But of course I have friends, and of course I talk with other people, but primarily the sole or the main occupant of my thoughts has been myself. Not in a severely narcissistic way, which I will get to, but if you've ever prepped extensively for an exam, or if you've done like a solo activity, so not sports, because I feel like in sports you have a lot of other people, but if you're just doing a solo activity like long hours of debate research or just like studying for really large periods of time, you realize how it feels to be with yourself. And it's made me realize a lot of things about myself, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't like all of them. I don't like the stuff that I discovered about myself, and it's been pissing me off, and I want to talk about it. There are 3 things that I want to discuss about the self. Wow, I wrote it down. And I think it's like really interesting, and I'm going to talk about it. So I feel like since we're talking about Halloween and horror, we have seen a lot of movies in which you view the self as a separate entity. As in, this is me, the one, like I am Narisha who is talking to you right now. And there's another me who does not have control over this Narisha. So it's like, you know, when you're on a diet and you want to eat, but then another part of you is saying, no, you shouldn't eat. So it's like there's 2 conflicting sides of you within yourself. Like you have 2 wolves inside of you. Literally, it's the meme personified. And, you know, I feel like this is really true. And in the sense that like, this is such a prevalent theme in horror media. So us humans, we're inherently scared of us triumphing over us. So it's like, I think of The Substance, which is like literally one of the only horror movies that like I actually watch, because I'm like, I know a lot about horror, I just don't watch the movies. The Substance, if you don't know what it is, obviously you know what it is. It's about this girl, she's like a washed out actress who can take a substance that will revert her into her younger self. And essentially, while she's living as her older self, she can't live as a younger self. So because she has to do 1 week as her older self, 1 week as her younger self. And throughout the end of the movie, it's not a big spoiler, but if you don't want to listen, you can skip ahead. They both gain consciousness, as in they both exist at the same time. And naturally, they try to kill each other. It's also the case in a lot of, I think, time travel media. In the Umbrella Academy, there was this thing where if you, who is going back into the future, met you who lived in that timeline, you would try to kill each other. Which I guess that's a different thing. I mean, that's science fiction, but I think that like it's very interesting that, you know, you fighting against yourself is a very prevalent and horrific concept within horror media. So I'm not crazy here, and I get what's going on. I get why you can hate yourself and also love yourself. Like I do sometimes. Well, no, okay. No, that's too vulnerable. I am not on this podcast to be vulnerable. Bitch. Okay, sorry. And that led me to think to 3 different variations we have of ourselves. Primarily, I think what's been going on with me is I have been having really big reality checks. It's horrible. I hate having reality checks. It's disgusting because I'm gonna be a bit vulnerable here. I've always thought of myself as pretty smart. And I thought that, okay, well, it was easy. I'm gonna breeze through that shit because I'm just smart, okay? I'm just better. I'm literally Elle Woods, but I'm not Elle Woods. I don't know why I said that. I'm not Elle Woods, but I feel like that's been a defense mechanism of myself for literally so long. I think ever since class 7, I've had this defense mechanism that's like, okay, it doesn't matter if I fail. I will come through because I'm just built different. But I'm not coming through. I'm not doing as good as I should be doing. I am failing in some aspects. I'm not like dead failing, but I'm doing pretty bad, literally just swiping just clear of the bullet. And that has been happening for a couple months now. And because school and like schoolwork has become so saturated, it's like, okay, now I have to focus. I have no chance but to. And when you're actually focusing and when you're seeing that other people are doing way better than you and that you are not missing or like not meeting the mark that you thought you were going to meet, kind of fucking sucks. It sucks a lot. And it really hurts because like I feel like that's a defense mechanism I've built up, that oh, I will do better, I will do good, it doesn't matter because I'm better than everyone. Obviously that's a really shit defense mechanism and it can crumble very easily. And also a defense mechanism or like a self-worth built on superiority is not an actual like identity. You can't just be like, I'm better than everyone. And I understand coping. I think coping mechanisms can be like messed up to be like, you can have the worst coping mechanisms and I'd still be like, okay, do it. If you want to believe that someone who is like doing so much better than you in academics is actually secretly a loner and probably gay and probably has no friends, cope. Literally just cope. Because like, who cares? As long as it gets you through your day and as long as you like at the end of the day you understand that it's coping, that's fine. Like I make up shit about people all the time to make me feel better and I think it's hilarious. I think it's really funny that I'm lying to myself and that helps me cope even better, but I'm getting off topic. And it reminds me of this poem because obviously I cannot go 2 seconds without mentioning poetry. I'm like so quirky. But it reminds me of this poem that I read and I love it. It's called Social Skills Training by Solmaz Sharif. And I thought that was a guy, but it's not, it's a girl. And I want to read it up to you. Studies suggest, "How may I help you, officer?" is a single disarming thing to say and not "what's the problem?" Studies suggest it's best to help reply "my pleasure" and not "no problem." Studies suggest it's best not to mention problem in front of power, even to say there is none. Gloria Steinem says women lose power as they age, and yet the loudest voice in my head is my mother. Studies show the mother we have in mind isn't the mother that exists. Mine says, "What the fuck are you crying for?" Studies show the baby monkey will pick the fake monkey with fake fur or over the furless wire monkey without contest. Studies show to negate something is to think it anyway. I'm not sad. I'm not sad. Studies suggest regular expressions of gratitude and internal check-ins. Enough, the wire mother says. History is a kind of study. History says we forgave the executioner. Before we mocked the blood, we asked, "Lord Judge, have I executed well?" Studies suggest yes. What the fuck are you crying for, officer? The wire mother teaches me to say. While studies suggest, Solmas, have you thanked your executioner today? I could make an entire 50-minute dissertation on this one poem, but the one line that I want to talk about in this episode is studies suggest that studies show the mother we have in mind isn't the mother that exists. Obviously, in the context of today's episode, I'm not talking about mothers, I'm talking about ourselves. That the self that we have in mind is not the self that truly exists. And that kind of sucks. That kind of sucks because if we are what we think, René Descartes' "I think, therefore I am." If we are what we think, then why do our thoughts not make ourselves? Which, in a sense, they do. Your thoughts do make up who you are, but it's also more so our action, and it's also more so the way we conduct ourselves. So me fucking failing in every single math exam is not who I thought I was, but I guess I just am, and it sucks because you already deal with so much disappointment from other people around you when you get betrayed and when you get backstabbed and when things don't work out with a friend or a relationship, and having to deal with that with yourself, no thanks. No thanks. Which leads me to my next point that I think is my way of coping. You can have your own coping mechanisms. If you are going through insecurity and you want to think that you're the greatest person in the universe, cope, literally cope. Good for you, more power to you. But to keep myself grounded, I usually think of this really nice quote from Drew Gooden. Yeah, Drew Gooden, because lots of Drew Gooden like sometimes he says the most insightful things that they just stick in my mind. And I remember he was talking about this video about Lily Singh, and he was talking about being a YouTube creator, which, you know, I guess me and him are basically the same level of YouTube creator. He said, you're never as good as the positive comments will make you seem, and you're never as bad as the haters are actually saying. And that like little piece of commentary blew my brain. I mean, but like it blew my brain apart, because he's right. Because it's so important to find that like spot in the middle. And I know that now that I'm saying it, it sounds very like intuitive, that, oh yeah, Arisha, no shit, you're not as bad as your negative thoughts make you seem, and no shit, you're not as good as your most superior ones make you seem. But it's just something that like I just want to point out, because I feel like a lot of people need to hear that most of us, we exist in a sweet spot. And this isn't to say, like, the reason why I say this is because I feel like it'll help, you know, people who are very overly negative about themselves. I used to be this type of people. I feel like, I don't know what's happened in the last 4 to 6 months. I don't know, no, not 4 months, not 6 months. I think for the past like 3 months, my mindset and the way that I see myself has completely changed, in the sense that I used to be really fucking depressed. If you go back and look at like don't go back and watch our old episodes. They're absolute shit, and I look like a fucking 3-year-old in there. Never watch those old episodes. But hypothetically, if you were to watch our old episodes, you would see that I was like really upset, and I hated everything. I remember like my end of 2024 video, I said about like how everything was cyclical and like pessimistic and didn't really matter. Yeah, things are cyclical and things are pessimistic, but I feel like a lot of it just has to be with me locking in, because now that I'm like studying, I study a lot, and I don't study a lot. If I studied more, I would be getting good grades and not failing. But all I'm saying is that I'm putting a lot of effort into, you know, doing my own stuff. And I feel like that has made me realize that a lot of, you know, these negative thoughts that you have to yourself, they only prop up when you're like bored or when you don't really have anything else to worry about. I remember me and my debate team, so I don't want to mention anybody by name, because I don't want to put, like, I don't have anyone's consent on this podcast. So I'm not gonna mention any names, but like me, one of my seniors and one of my juniors, we are the girls in our debate team. And I think I said something, I don't know if it was me or my junior, but I said something about how, you know, I looked like shit. And my senior, who I love and respect so much, she's so amazing, she said, yeah, I just, like, after O-levels, she just gave O-levels, after giving O-levels and like doing A-levels, I realized how I don't have time for that. And that like completely went in. I still think about that, because she's completely right. And this isn't me saying that, oh, if you just keep busy, you'll never have a negative thought about yourself, you'll never hate yourself or the way you look, and you'll never wish you were somebody else, because that's not true. That's never going to be true. I still hate myself sometimes. I still wish I was someone else sometimes. I have a lot of envy, but that envy or that like self-hatred generally fades a lot. So my advice would just be like, keep busy. You know, you don't have to study if you don't have O-levels in 5 months like me, but you can just, you know, pick up a hobby, talk to people, and try and like do stuff that make you feel good from the inside, not fucking superficial shit like social media, which is kind of hypocritical because I'm putting this on a social media, but like, you know, you guys get what I'm saying. So I feel like that was really important. And I was gonna say that the shift that has been taking place in me, and that is that I feel like all of those negative shit that I used to think about, and all of those really depressive thoughts that I had no way to deal with, rather than just be sad and lazy. And looking back on it, I'm realizing how absurdly, I don't want to say lazy, because I feel like lazy is a very negative word. And I wasn't lazy. I did do stuff. I just did very little stuff. And okay, you know what? No, fuck it. I was lazy. Let me tell you, I would come home from school. I would do coaching if I had any coaching after school, which I only had like very little. So I would do coaching and then I'd come home and I wouldn't study. I would just sleep or I would watch YouTube for 4 hours. Ever since, like, from class 6, no, not class 6, yeah, from class 7 all the way to class 9, so like 2 years, more than that if you count some of class 6, for like 2 years, no, 2.5, no, yeah, 2 years, that was my entire schedule. Even when I had coaching, I would just do coaching and then I'd come home and laze. What I would do in class 7 is I would come home, I would bath, I would eat, or I would eat and bath, the order doesn't matter. I would lay down and I would just watch YouTube. Like, I would watch YouTube for so long. If I was watching an anime, I would watch anime. Or if I was watching a show, I'd watch a show, and that's it. This holiday, as in the holiday that we had in June, for like 5 days, all I did was watch Better Call Saul. And I actually don't hate myself for that, because I feel like I deserved a Better Call Saul break after the like stress of like exam. But I'm saying that for like 2 years, that's all I did. I would just watch YouTube, and then it would be choita at 6 o'clock. I would have nasta, like evening tea. The fuck, I'm British. I would have tea, and then I'd have dinner, and then I'd fall asleep. Such an unproductive schedule, and I feel like that gave me a lot of ways to hate myself. And this is not me being like a capitalist cuck and saying that, oh, you should study, you should do stuff. I'm just saying that, you know, take care of yourself, because like, and do shit. Like, literally just do shit. It's fun, it's amazing. I have this podcast. You think that this podcast doesn't like stop me from hating myself all the time? It does. And okay, yeah. And so, like I was saying, I used to be very lazy, and I feel like I used to be very negative in my thoughts. I don't know from where it came from, but lately I have been positive. Not overly positive, not like out of the blue, in the sky positive, but I have been positive in my prospects and my futures. And that is crazy, because I've never been positive before. But now, whenever I feel a bad thought coming up, it's like, okay, this is gonna happen. There's no way for me to shelter it. This is how I'm gonna be dealing with it. I did the worst debate of my life on Sunday. It was a spar, as in it was like just a practice debate, and I did really bad, and I got smoked by the judge in that round, and I was feeling horrible. It was like 12 a.m. I went to sleep, and I couldn't sleep for like an hour because I was up all night thinking about it. And I felt so miserable. Like, I felt so bad. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm never debating again. It's all over. And I felt like that throughout the entire next day. But on the other hand, like a couple years ago, I feel like I would have been like, oh, okay, this is bad, I'm done, I'm over. But now I've found ways to like cope with it and be like, okay, I will do better. It's going to be fine. And I just gotta focus on myself. And I feel like another thing that I want to say is that I don't know if this philosophy works with any other people other than myself, but it has worked a lot for me. And that is that if you don't think negatively or, you know, meanly about other people, then you don't feel like you're not as afraid of them talking negatively about yourself. What do I mean by this? I mean that whenever I find myself, it's like a very simple like metric, right? It's just, oh, if you think bad about someone, they might think bad about you too. But if you don't think bad about people, it's like, okay, it's like killing. When I was a kid, my justification for not killing someone, because I would ask myself a lot, whenever I hated someone, I wanted to kill them. And I would always be like, my thought process was never, oh, I shouldn't kill this person because it's morally wrong and that I shouldn't take a human life. My thought process was, I'm not gonna kill someone because then I wouldn't be able to complain if someone killed me because I deserved it. And I feel like that was like, I had those thoughts when I was like 7 or 6, but I feel like lately those have evolved and morphed into current me, where it's like, I'm not gonna think negatively about other people because then it would give them the right in their heads to talk negatively about me. And in that case, I don't think I would be the victim because I didn't, like, I feel like, given the fact that I've already talked bad about them, if they talked about it, I can't really complain because it's like tit for tat. And when that happens, you learn to let go of a lot of the bad stuff that people say about you, because you understand where you are and that you wouldn't do that to any other people. I know it's like basic ethics, but I feel like a lot of people, when I lose sight of it, and that's why I just wanted to talk about it, because like I've lost sight of it. That's why it's such a shock to me. And so yeah, another way that I feel like I've coped with this is thinking, someone, I feel like we have a lot of anxieties that's like, oh, you know, this person is going to be grossed out by me, or this person is going to be disappointed in me. Or like when you're talking to a guy, which is something that I do on a regular basis because I talk to so many guys and I'm so in demand and I am not a loner. Now that that's out of the way, hypothetically, if I were to talk to a guy, I feel like there's always this fear that's like, oh, these people are going to judge me for really small things that I do, or like they're going to have such mean thoughts about me. My way for coping with that is that, okay, if someone is judging me for very small things that I do, then they're not someone that I want to be with anyway. So if someone decides to have like a mean thought about my appearance, or if they want to say something that's like mean and I'll be crushed by it because I like them, it's like, okay, someone who thinks about that isn't someone's opinion I value, because I would never think about that anyway. And I feel like that's helped me a lot to progress in like social situations that I would feel uncomfortable in, because it's like, okay, like if this person is judging me based on like my appearance, I don't want what's it called? I don't want their judgment. Like I don't care about what they think, so their judgment means anything to me, which I know is a lot more easier said than done. And it's mostly like all of these, you know, higher emotional actualization. This isn't emotional actualization, intellect, by the way. This is just like regular thoughts that I have, and I just need to tell you about them because I keep having them. It's just like, it just comes, and I know I'm not saying anything overtly profound, but it's my podcast. Okay, that brings me to like another thing that is going to be directly contradictory to what I said before, and that's that I feel like I'm not as nice as I thought I was. In fact, I've been catching myself having very, very mean thoughts. Full transparency here, I've been catching myself having such mean thoughts, and sometimes I have them and then I'm like, whoa, it's like equivalent to hearing a racial slur. It's like, okay, you can't do that. Who taught you? And that's been really pissing me off. And I feel like whenever you have a mean thought, you try to justify it. And every time I feel that justification coming on, I'm like, okay, stop. And it's really hard because I feel like training yourself against having mean thoughts is very difficult. And I know that, like, okay, it is easy to be a nice, decent human being verbally. Okay, it's easy to hold the door for someone. It's easy to compliment a person's appearance. It's easy to not talk shit about people outside. Like, it's easy to not open your mouth and put that into the world. It is not easy to control what's going on up here, man. There are some crazy shit going on in the mind, okay? It's fucked up, it's messed up, and it's gross, and I hate it. So I'm working on that. One day I will be so nice that they will literally erect a pillar of me, and then everyone is going to bow down to it. Just wait. In 20 years, I'm gonna topple this. Okay, I probably shouldn't say stuff that is so controversial. Okay, on a serious note, that's the main big thing that I wanted to talk about, because, you know, we're important. And I feel like another thing is I have a really big self-preservation instinct, which is very scary. Like, I think about myself and the way things are gonna affect me a lot. And I hate it, because like I feel like I've always had a self-preservation instinct ever since I was like a kid, and I feel like it's been a bit more exacerbated in me than it has in other people, but it's been getting worse and I hate it. So I really hope that I fix that and stop being so concerned about the way I'm doing stuff and worry more about others and how I can help others. Which is going to happen, by the way. And then they're going to make a okay, no, they're not going to make a statue of me. Okay, now that that's done, let's talk about some actual Halloween stuff. By the way, this this is my first time doing a costume. I've never dressed up for Halloween before. The last time I dressed up for anything was back when I was 6. I went to a Cancer Association thing and I dressed up as a fairy, and that was really fun. But this is the first time that I'm dressing up as something, and I also got the outfit wrong. Like, this is supposed to be gray, but I don't have gray. But the guys in the musical, they wear this red color, so I decided to do a red dupatta instead of a gray one. And Jane Doe in the original, she wears like lace and a turtleneck. She's really cool, but I didn't have any of that, so I'm not wearing any of that. What horror stuff do I like? I don't like horror stuff. I'm very indifferent to it. Like, I don't know. I can probably tell you on my hands how many horror movies I've watched. I've watched Conjuring. I've watched all the Final Destination movies because Final Destination is goated. And I have watched Coraline, but I don't think Coraline counts as a horror. It does. It does count as a horror movie, but mostly I have read a lot of horror books and novels. And that's fair game. I'm allowed to talk about books. I think, like, you can't talk about horror books without mentioning Stephen King. Even though Stephen King is really weird and he writes some stuff that is, like, low-key questionable, he is so good at horror. I wanted to put some Stephen King books here, but all of my Stephen King books are dreadfully unaesthetic. So, I hate the word aesthetic, but, like, I can put them up here. But I do love Stephen King, and I really hope that you guys pick up a book of his for this year or maybe next year Halloween. My recommendation would be Misery because it's very scary and this guy gets his leg chopped right off and burned. So if you're like a freak and you like gore, you can watch that. I mean, I don't shame anyone. There was also another thing that I wanted to talk about, but I feel like it's something that requires a lot more scripting, and it was about this phenomena that I have been experiencing. I wrote an essay about it, but it's a very unpolished essay, and it was of like the dichotomy that girls like you, like me, we're girls, face in cultural like divides, as in Ekbashe, you have the westernized versions of ourselves, the ones that dress up for Halloween, that dress up like, wear western clothes, which, like, I think western clothes is like the barest metric, because like I don't think wearing a pant and a shirt is inherently western, or I don't like that claim, because whatever, but that's not the point. The point is that on one side you have this, and on the other side you have another alternate version of yourself who is deshi and who does embrace culture, who wears shalwar-kameez, mehndi, bhat, ebhabe khai, and stuff like that. But that version is also a little whitewashed, because I feel like the idea of being a deshi girl that we have is also centered upon media, because we create aesthetics that specifically curate or specifically compartmentalize the way a quote-unquote deshi girl should behave. I don't know, like, I would love to hear you guys' feedback on this, because I don't know if it's like just me, unaffected me being very chronically online, or me being like very split in cultures, because I grew up in Australia for like the first 5 years of my life, 5 or 6 years, and then I came back to Bangladesh, and then I was on and off. So I don't know whether it's just because of me being like not an immigrant. What is that word? Like, sort of like, I don't even know what you call it, sort of like back and forth. I don't know if it's just me being back and forth, or whether it's something that you guys face too. I think, like, if I be more clear, it's like, I've always been really mad at Pinterest, because I use it to get all my inspiration, but it's so weird because the photos there, it's like, either it's diaspora, so you have deshi girls. I hate the word deshi girls, I sound so man, but either you have like brown girls in a Western country taking photos in very clean streets, or you have them in some very picturesque deshi setting, like the Faridjan bookstore or stuff like that. And I know that these are photos and they're meant to be beautiful, but I just feel like on one side we're curating our identities based on Western trends, but on the other side we're also curating a falsified reality based on Deshi trends and what we like define to be Deshi. But in reality, most girls like you, like me, we lie in the middle, wherein we are not entirely Deshi, wherein we are not entirely Western either. We are literally in the middle. And I feel like for other girls, being in the middle is probably easier. It has never really been easy for me, partially because I'm very sensitive to a lot of different issues, and I feel like a lot of the time, the way that our culture is shaped is not something that I particularly adhere to, or something that I particularly feel connected or like a part of. And it's also because I'm very hypersensitive and I tend to notice social norms and social patterns a lot more, and I really hate like identity. I'm gonna be honest, like I don't hate identity, I hate the way, like growing up, my mom has always told me that language, as in my language Bangla, as in my religion Muslim, is a very important part of my identity. And the moment in time a part of your identity feels oppressive, or it feels as if it does not connect with you, then it is no longer a part, then it shouldn't be a part of your identity. You should shed that instantly, because otherwise it just becomes hard to hold on to. And I feel like we have like these identity boxes which we try to fit people in, and that just makes me really mad, because I feel like it's a really big problem in this current age, wherein you can't just like shed your religion, just like you can't shed your Bangaliness, your Bangla, your mother tongue. And like I hate Bangla, it's very difficult and I'm very bad at it. Like the subject, I'm not bad at speaking it, I don't think, but it just, that really makes me mad. And identity is such a weird thing, and it's so fluid and it's so ergum, and it just keeps on expanding, that I hate how social norms have tried to like put them into boxes and pressure them onto people, that particular parts of your identity, or like of your parents or your ancestral identity, should be pushed upon you. That's stupid. And plus, like, it's stupid. Why can't we just let people be who they are? Which, like, I understand why this is so prevalent, because we come from years of colonization in which our cultures were literally uprooted. So I understand why we try to hold on to these things so intently. But, sometimes I do feel like I'm caught between two entirely different worlds, and I hate one side and then I like the other side, and then I hate the other side and I like one side. Like, I want to be liberal and I want to be free and I want to like have fun, and on the other side I want to be like an actual good, I don't want to say Bengali because there are no good Bengalis, but I want to hold part of like my Deshi side and this culture, and I also want to hold on to what's going on here. But then you merge them together, you have people making fun of you from your conservative family like I do, and then you have people who like, it's just weird. Identity is a very weird thing, and I think that ties into what we were talking about today, about the self and why the self is so important. So I want to end this episode by obviously wishing everyone a happy Halloween for next year, because today is already over. Not today, Halloween passed 3 days ago. And I would love to see all of you guys' outfits, if you guys have outfits. If you don't and you did like the Inktober thing, which I never did because I don't draw, but if you ever did that, I would love to see it. And there are 2 months left to this year, so as far as we can hold on until the next year, I want to just wish everyone the best. And if you guys have any podcast ideas and you want to talk, or if you just want to talk, we're always here for you. I'm going to end my note with a quote from Ride the Cyclone. You will soar to great heights. Your lucky number is 7, and be sure to ride the cyclone. Bye-bye.